If you're trying to start a nonprofit in 2026, here's what nobody tells you. The old playbook doesn't work anymore. When I started my nonprofit, I had no money, no donors, no connections, and honestly, no idea what I was doing. Today, after building a sustainable organization from scratch and helping thousands of new changemakers learn how to do the same, I've learned something surprising. You don't need to start out with a well-connected board, grants already in hand, or a big network. I didn't. So in this episode of Changemaker Cafe, I'm going to show you the exact steps that I would take if I were starting a successful nonprofit all over again in 2026, in this economy, in this social climate, and in this tech landscape, even if I were starting again with $0. Let's get into it. So when I started my nonprofit years ago, I made the mistake I see almost everyone make. I thought I needed money first. I thought, well, if my mission is so important, people will just be inspired to give, right? But I was wrong. For months, with very little to no success, I tried applying for grants, researching how to get donations, or hoping to meet the right person or funder or organization who would finally see us and give us their support. But nothing changed until I changed my mindset about this and my approach. I remember sitting in a meeting with our board of directors, every one of us new to nonprofits at the time, when one of them suggested, well, what if we tried out a few small volunteer projects at first instead of trying to get funding for these bigger ideas right now? With that, I sort of had a realization. It didn't matter how important we thought our mission was. Money still wasn't coming in because we had no community. And that was sort of a turning point for us. We shifted our strategies to building community first, telling our story publicly more often and showcasing our impacts, even the small ones, and sharing consistent updates and content. And finally, things kind of started to change. And here's the thing, those strategies are even more powerful in 2026 than they were when I started years ago. So today I'm giving you the complete roadmap, the new playbook that works in 2026, and I'm going to break it down into 5 phases. The first phase is where the majority of nonprofit founders that I talk to struggle right out of the gate. They want to start with paperwork instead of starting with people. This is not going to work in 2026 because something really big is happening. People are lonelier, they're more disconnected, and they're more hungry for community than ever. You've probably even heard that we're facing a nationwide loneliness epidemic. That means that in addition to your nonprofit setting out to solve a problem in your community, if you do it right, it's also going to create a sense of belonging in your community. And that's a good thing. When people feel like they belong, they also become lifelong supporters of your mission. So your first job isn't actually raising money, it's gathering your first circle of what I like to call believers, about 10 to 20 of them. These can be friends, neighbors, coworkers, people personally affected by the issues that you're tackling, volunteers who are craving meaning, anyone craving connection. You're going to talk to them and share the research that you've done on the community problem you want to address. You're going to tell them your idea for addressing that problem. Tell them why it matters. What's at stake in your community if the problem goes unaddressed? And this one's important. Ask what they care about and listen closely to their answer. You are listening for connection points, ways that their interests are going to align with yours. Get them involved early, but in a small way at first. Don't go in asking for huge donations right off the bat. You want to invite them to share your story on social media, connect you to one other person who might be passionate about the same issue, or maybe attend one meeting or event with you to learn more up close. This is your movement seed. Now, here's something else that I would do in 2026 that would really change the game. I would document everything. As an entrepreneur, there's this idea of building in public, which is when you openly share your journey of building an organization or project with an audience in real time, including your progress, your setbacks, and your learnings. You can use your phone. You can film behind the scenes clips on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, or even Facebook or LinkedIn, depending on who your audience is. Talk about the problem you're solving. Share your research on the issue you're tackling, things that surprised you, common myths, and more. You want to show your messy steps early. Talk about the mistakes made and the lessons learned. Why does this work? It's simple. Because trust in institutions is declining, but trust in real humans showing real work is taking off right now. The best part is doing all this can be free. It builds momentum before you even incorporate as an official organization, and it creates your first loyal, engaged audience following your story, which you'll need to raise money later. So before 2020, you could kind of sort of get away without a strong online presence. But in 2026, every donor, every potential partner, volunteer, journalist, and corporate sponsor is going to vet you online before they even think about supporting you. Some potential donors are even going to ChatGPT to ask about your organization. So you need to make sure that you have enough accurate information online for it to pull from. Here is your checklist to build a strong foundation for your new organization's digital footprint. First, you need a simple website. You can use WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, or any platform with templates if you're not a big web developer person. At this stage, you really just need 3 pages: a home page, an about page, and a page explaining how to get involved, or call to action page. Second, you need clear language: what you do, who you help, why it matters, and how to support. Make sure your website homepage passes the 5-second trust test, because that's how much time you have to make an impression on a new site visitor. Your simple website should focus on what you do and who you help and why the problem matters, and like I said, what someone can do to support. Third, you need a social media baseline. Every organization needs a social media presence now, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to show who you are and that you are present. Start with posting 3 to 5 solid pieces of content that can help new visitors really understand what you're about at this early stage. It could include a short intro video, a quick clip explaining or showing the problem you're tackling in your community, behind the scenes images and stories about your planning process, a personal story like why this cause matters to you, a day in the life moment. All of this proves you're a real human and builds trust and credibility. And fourth, you need to claim your nonprofit's name across the platforms. Doing this can help search and AI engines start to recognize your organization, but it also reduces confusion for future donors or supporters if they can find you consistently on different platforms. Just make sure you choose a name that you're happy with. A great nonprofit name should be simple, it should be easy to say, easy to spell, and give someone a clear idea of what your mission is and who you serve. Now that you have people, presence, and momentum, this is when you handle the paperwork part, not earlier. Because this is the phase in the process that does require a little funding, at least a few $100s in required registration fees with the government, and having a small group of supporters to start out with means you have people who have buy-in and who might be willing to contribute to help cover these fees if you don't have the ability to cover them yourself. So here's what you're going to need. Your founding board members. Most states require you to have at least 3. Maybe these are folks from your group of true believers that you rallied in the first phase. You're going to need to incorporate in your state. This could cost anywhere between $20 and $200 depending on your state. You're going to need your employer identification number, or EIN. Once you get your 501c3 status, this is going to become your tax ID number as a nonprofit. You're going to need your bylaws. This is a governing document that outlines how your organization will oversee board elections and other key governance activities. Once written, your newly formed board is going to need to vote to approve them. You're going to need a conflict of interest policy. You're going to need to submit your 501c3 public charity application to the IRS. If you haven't raised more than $50,000 in the past 3 years and don't plan to raise more than $50,000 for the next 3 years, you would use Form 1023 Easy, which costs about $275. If you plan to raise more than that, you might need to use the other Form 1023, which is about $600 in IRS fees. And then you need to get your charitable solicitation license if your state requires it, which might be around $200. But I want to say, filing your paperwork to become an official 501c3 registered nonprofit isn't the only thing you need to do to build legitimacy at this stage. You also need to start building proof. This is an especially hard thing, I know, for new nonprofits because you might not have a lot of programming or projects complete yet. So you want to focus on building credibility by tackling a few small things in your community and showing your results, even, like I said, on that small scale. This phase is not about looking big, it's about looking credible. These micro wins matter way more in 2026 than ever before because people who might donate to your cause don't want polished. They want proof of action. Authenticity is going to beat perfection every time. So here's what you're going to do. First, do small things that help your cause. Educate people by speaking at a group meeting, volunteer with a partner organization, help 1 or 2 people. 2, document it. 3, share it publicly with permission from anyone you feature, of course. 4, get a quote or testimonial from one person helped or who believes in your cause. And 5, repeat the cycle. All the while, continue to build up your digital footprint by sharing small impact moments, people you've helped, research findings, volunteer highlights, your learning process. Every story helps you build legitimacy and credibility, which are critical ingredients to earning funding and support. This is the part everyone wants to rush to. How do I get donations? Where do I get grants? How do I fund my salary? But the funding landscape is changing for nonprofits in 2026, and here's what that means for new nonprofits. Grants come last. Community comes first. Grants are slower, more competitive, and often require 1 or 2 years of a positive track record to even qualify. So here's what's actually working for new or smaller nonprofits right now once you've built up your community and credibility. 1 is monthly giving programs. Subscription style giving is really having a moment right now. People want easy, predictable ways to help. Nonprofits want reliable donations. 2nd is corporate social impact partnerships. Companies want measurable community impact, volunteering opportunities, local partnerships, opportunities for visibility, marketing, and storytelling. Even small nonprofits can partner with them. 3rd is earned income. Because grants and donations are so competitive in 2026, many nonprofits are acting more like social enterprises, generating revenue through the sale of services like a business. A lot of people don't realize that nonprofits can do things like teach workshops, charge for events, sell digital products, or charge a reasonable fee for programs where it makes sense for the populations that they're serving. 4th, community and community building events. Keep them simple, lightweight, inexpensive, and focus on, like I said, community building and connection first and foremost. You can host a casual gathering at a coffee shop, invite people to volunteer. 5th is peer-to-peer fundraising. This is where your supporters start fundraisers to raise money for your cause. Done right, it can have a huge ROI. You just need to find the right software to help people collect donations. There's so much fundraising you can do on little to no budget. You just need a strategy, a story, and people who believe in you. Regardless of how you approach fundraising, you still need an easy way to collect donations online. That's why I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Click and Pledge, for making it easy for new and growing nonprofits to start strong and scale with confidence. Click and Pledge gives you professional grade tools for super affordable startup level costs from day one. They've got customizable donation forms that you can plug right into your website. And these forms are going to be the foundation for all of your fundraising strategy going forward. But Click and Pledge also has a number of other tools included in their affordable flat monthly costs that you can use as your nonprofit is growing. Things like in-person and peer-to-peer fundraising features, video fundraising with embedded donation links right in the videos, text to give tools, donor management, Salesforce, and other integrations, all included with no contracts or surprise add-on fees. Unlike some platforms that are going to increase your fees as you grow, Click and Pledge pricing is going to stay the same whether you have 10 donors or 10,000 donors. You can use the QR code and link in the description to check out Click and Pledge, book a demo, and get your first $25 monthly fee waived. Now that you've built up your community, your credibility, your legitimacy, and your revenue streams, it's time to build some systems to make operations smooth and let you automate what you can. In 2026, there are so many tools that make this easier. With available software or even AI, you can automate things like email or newsletter updates, volunteer onboarding processes, grants or fundraising research, donation receipts, meeting scheduling, and even some financial tracking. You really don't need a 10-person team when you have these good systems in place. This is going to reduce burnout and create consistency, and you're going to be glad you did it later. And it frees you up to do the most important thing when starting an organization, building relationships. Because even with all the tech, fundraising and growing a nonprofit in 2026 still comes down to something kind of ancient. People want to support other people, not just organizations. This is the part I wish someone had told me when I started. You can start with no money because money doesn't create momentum. Momentum creates money. In 2026, people want meaning. They want belonging. They want to join movements, not institutions. So your job isn't to start a nonprofit. Your job is to start a movement, even if it's tiny at first. So here's your 2026 roadmap one more time. 1, build your micro community first, people before paperwork. 2, build your digital footprint. Show your credibility online. 3, build up your legitimacy with your official nonprofit paperwork and sharing small victories. 4, establish your modern revenue model, community, corporations, and earned income, and scale with systems. 5, use technology to save time and energy so you can focus on building and maintaining relationships. If you take those steps, not perfectly, not all at once, you are going to build momentum. And momentum is what brings in partners and volunteers and donations. If you want templates, scripts, checklists, and the full system that I teach founders raising money for their nonprofit from scratch, I've got linked details about my 0 to 100K toolkit in the description. And you can also find it on my website, changemakercafe.com. It's the complete roadmap I wish I'd had when I was getting started. And next week, I'm breaking down how to future-proof your nonprofit so you can build an organization that stays relevant, impactful, and sustainable in today's very rapidly evolving landscape. And you don't want to miss that one. I'm Amber Melanie Smith. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.